Hi everyone, back again.
Hello everyone, back in New York with the old downtown financial district historic steakhouse, one of the best in New York, right behind me there. It opened up in 1837.
Wow,
You steak lovers here in New York, or if
Yeah.
you're traveling to New York.
it's beautiful inside, isn't it? Very classy.
We talk about food. Sorry, this is an educational program. We are just food lovers here, and we need to stick to the topic. So let's talk about what we are here to talk about today.
Well, our objective today is to tell you about our dream of creating a book for teachers, or many books for teachers, on topics that they want. So we've created a survey that we would like you to click on below this video, and we don't want just you to do the survey. We want you to share it with all the teachers you know, because the more data we get, the more feedback we get, the better our book's going to be able to serve you. And maybe these videos also might be a way to really help you out when you're stuck at a time of pressure.
The survey is only 5 to 10 minutes, so feel free to pass it on, like Marg said, to others. This is going to help us with our research and really, put together the data and really see what the findings show us, and that will help contribute to our book, which we intend on finishing hopefully by the end of this year. So that is something that we feel will really benefit you as a teacher, but us as well as a way to help you.
Yeah, that's right.
So let's get started.
Okay, so our survey is asking you a bit about your teaching history, about even your teacher training, because in our experience and the teachers that we've been working with, the students aren't as prepared, the teachers aren't as prepared for becoming teachers from Teachers College.
And I feel like the objective of this, Teacher in Me coming out, the objective in this whole video is, what are we finding? What are the trends? What are the patterns? And hopefully any correlations that we can find. And we have noticed, we have noticed between both of us, we work with, around 16 schools. So it's quite a lot, and next year we'll be working with possibly 20 plus schools. So we are working with hundreds of teachers and students, and I feel that, if there's a commonality between us and other colleagues and we're finding a pattern, that pattern needs to be addressed. And what a better way to start than to write a book, put some strategies together, but let's just make this really clear cut. It's about the following things that we're going to discuss that we've noticed within schools and struggles that we've noticed. But we're not about just focusing on the struggles. We want to address the problems, get to the root of the problem, and see how we can make teachers more effective teachers and learning more effective, and to improve teaching pedagogy.
That's right. Our ultimate aim is the kids. Our ultimate aim is to provide education in any form that we can provide, whether it's in school or at home or in tutoring or even community projects, how you can best engage kids. And what we're finding in classrooms is that...
Let's get to that. What are we finding in classrooms?
In classrooms, we're finding that engagement and behaviour management are probably the two big ones.
I agree.
Yeah.
Behaviour management,
and
classroom engagement.
And getting the kids fired up about what they're learning. And we've seen great teaching. We've seen it in Australia, we've seen it all over the US, we've seen it in Asia, and we can see patterns in that. And we know all of that. We've got combined about 60 years of teaching experience and education. That's about all we ever read about is how to be great teachers, or great strategies, or experts, reading the research.
And I know a lot of people, a lot of you educators, possibly administrators, leaders, maybe you're thinking, it comes from leadership or lack of resources or funding, as we find in New York. Your hands are tied. We get that. We see a lot of teachers saying, we need more support from administrators. We need more resources. We need more funding. Scheduling. Now, it's, in in an ideal dream world, you would have the most efficient leadership, which
Most
trickles down to
effective.
teachers. That
And
is
passionate
ideal.
leadership, that's right.
And we do want that in an ideal world, but it is possible. And I guess we're trying to say we can't change the world in a day, we can't change leadership even in a day. However, we could help better equip teachers
Yeah.
that could help, I guess, make them more manageable tools in the classroom and to survive the stresses of daily life. You don't have to go home stressed or crying every day. Oh my gosh, I have grading to do. Oh my gosh, I'm having a formal observation. That's something I noticed in Australia. The emphasis isn't formal observations every other day.
Yeah.
There's not, the emphasis on testing.
Oh my
They're
God,
tested out.
so much testing.
And it takes away from the teaching and from authentic learning.
Yeah.
And teachers are like, I have to get through this content. I have to stick to this script. I'm going to be observed on this. I'm going to be tested on this. The kids are going to be tested on this. And there's this just regimented box we have to stick in.
Yeah.
And there's not much room for authenticity and real, teachers'
Joy
personality
and
to come out.
fun and creativity, all of that beautiful stuff.
So how do we overcome that? And that's what we're trying to narrow it down. How do we overcome the stresses that are unavoidable, they're inevitable, that they're going to face?
And teachers are burnt out beyond belief. It seems to be the Department of Education pushing on the principals, and the principals are pushing on the teachers, and very tough on the teachers and very strict with the teachers, and then the teachers feel put upon, and then they pass that on to the kids, and the kids are under third graders, sixth graders, stressed out of their head about testing and whether they're good enough, and we know that that's not really the way to go. But we know how we can support you in that, so that teachers in particular feel empowered, free, and liberated to be able to teach the way that works.
And a lot of research that we'll be presenting throughout, the future videos will be from schools that have successful leadership, have effective teaching, and has a system that works. It may not be perfect. It may be flawed. I mean, any school, let's face it, is flawed. Nothing can be perfect. I mean, some of the best schools I've worked at have flaws. Education can be a very bureaucratic, experience. But at the end of the day, we don't want to focus on what's wrong and what this teacher's doing, what the leaders are doing, what we don't have. No, we're not talking about deficits. We're going to be talking about strategies and tools to help you become better teachers, more manageable, managing your workload, classroom management and behaviour, I think, is our focus. And as you've seen in the last video, Margaret's passion is for literacy, struggling readers. My passion is for closing the gap between cultural diversity. I feel like there's a missing piece, with our kids. We call them our learners here in Australia.
English language learners.
In Australia, it's ESL. In Asia, it's ESL. There's also ENL here in the US. So I'm passionate about closing that gap. So kids in the classroom don't feel like, oh my gosh, not only do I not understand the language and, the way a teacher is, it's culturally different, but, how do we support the teachers to help those our learners, but also how do we help the students adapt to culture that is different from their home countries? And how do we get kids to embrace another culture around them? How does someone from Ecuador or El Salvador or Trinidad or Jamaica or Africa, how do they adapt to one another's culture? Someone from Sri Lanka. I mean, there's such diverse cultures, and I'm passionate about really infusing cultures into one classroom, one school, and just making everyone appreciate and embrace one another. Because at the end of the day, teachers need to embrace other cultures, students need to embrace other cultures, students see teachers and how they interact with other cultures. We're all equal, and I know that you're passionate about equity in the classroom, making sure every student has access to books that meet their needs. Everybody has access to language
technology.
Learning.
That technology, that every school should have exactly the same equipment in their classroom available at their fingertips, good quality stuff that works, books, fantastic books that are relevant to the kids. We just learnt yesterday about, kids from minorities not recognising themselves in the literature that's available in their schools.
And that's a huge problem. Like African American students, we saw Marley yesterday, who's a 12-year-old, and talked about how she has 9,500 books.
Look her up, Marley Diaz. She is
Amazing.
An inspiration. Unbelievable girl. 12 years old.
Right. And so the thing about her is she wanted to see herself mirrored in the books that she was reading. Now, if you can't identify with a white kid and the cultural upbringing, it's hard to really get attached to a book or a character.
Yeah.
So how are you supposed to get kids engaged and really love learning and reading if you can't get them to really identify with characters and cultural hurdles and issues? So I feel like, we really want to help teachers learn and leaders to learn, how do we embed culturally diverse books into classrooms, into schools, because this really is a problem for a lot of the, a lot of the Latino youth, a lot of the African American youth, a lot of the Asian youth, like it's
American Indian, Native American.
Exactly, and they need to be able to see themselves in a character, can identify. There was a class that I did with a STARI, great STARI program with some kids, and they were able to identify with bullying and racism and identity with a book called Under My Skin. And a lot of my African American kids that I was working with,
The Skin I'm
loved,
In.
The
The Skin I'm In. Yeah.
My apologies, The Skin I'm In. And it's all about race and identity, and how these African American kids in my class were so intrigued by this book, and they were super engaged in class. Why? Because they could identify with the bullying that Malika experienced, the main character in the book. She was experiencing a lot of racial tension. And, that's something that kids need to identify with, and in a positive way. They need to be positively reinforced and empowered, and how to deal with bullying and racism in a positive way. Yeah. And, what a better way than to deal with a character they can identify with in a book.
Yeah, that's right.
Sorry, I get real passionate about that.
Great starting point.
Right.
Okay, so please click on the link below, complete the survey, share it with all your friends. As many teachers, the more teachers that give us feedback on through that survey, the more specific our feedback and more specific our strategies will be for you guys. There's New York. Oh,
Honky horns.
Yeah, we haven't heard a siren or a motorbike or a police car recently. Okay, and then we'll put other links down there, maybe to Marley's website, the 1,000 Book Challenge she has for black girls being represented in literature. And then if you have a direct comment, just comment below in the comments section, and we'll put together something for you.
And your feedback is really important to us, because if we're seeing a lot of comments, from you around the world, and we're also seeing that, across New York and schools that we know in DC and even Australia.
Around America, yeah, that's right.
That's great.
Yeah.
It's unification. We want to unify. We want unity. We want everybody to feel you're not alone.
Yeah.
You're not walking this path alone, and especially those that are passionate the way we are about really just changing the education system, education reform.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Thank you for listening, and we look forward to being with you again in the near future.
Okay, bye.